Today we are taking a look at the Fuji X-T30 and the 16mm f2.8. Both of these were just announced by Fujifilm, but I've had them in my possession for the last few days thanks to Midwest Photo Exchange, who are sponsoring this video. I mentioned a few videos ago that they were going to be kind of partnering up with me this year and doing some different videos throughout the year, both film and digital, and just kind of opening up the possibilities a little bit. So Ken from Midwest, he reached out a few days ago and said, hey, we have something on its way from Fuji, and we don't know what it is yet. It's a new release, but if you'd like to try it out whenever it gets here, we can loan it to you for a couple days, and you can make a video about it and share your thoughts. And I agreed to it without even knowing exactly what the camera was, just because I knew that if it was coming from Fuji, it was probably going to be something I would enjoy, since I do use the X-T3, and I sing that camera's praises all the time. But the X-T30 is sort of like the little brother to the X-T3. They have the X-T10 and the X-T20 as well before this one. And this is basically a stripped-down version of the X-T3. It shares the same sensor. It has a lot of the same specs, but some things are stripped down, obviously, or else they wouldn't need to make it. But we're going to get into the specs here in just a little bit, but it's a pretty exciting camera. And the 16mm f2.8, a lot of people in the Fuji world really love the 16 f1.4. I borrowed that lens from Hdmi and Andrew here on YouTube, and it's a great, great lens. But it is a very big lens and a very expensive lens. Not saying it's overpriced, because it is really, really nice, but I think some people have been wanting something a little more affordable and a little bit more compact, and this is definitely it. So this is in their smaller, slower lineup, basically, the weather-resistant line. You know, you have your 35 f2, 23 f2, 50 f2, which is what I'm using to record this video. They have a lot of different lenses in that lineup, and they're all smaller, a little bit slower in terms of maximum aperture, but they're weather resistant, typically faster autofocus, silent autofocus, and this lens is definitely a lot more compact than the f1.4. Now, this is an f2.8 versus f2, so you're 2 stops slower than the 16 f1.4, but you're paying much less, since this is retailing for, let me double check, yeah, $399 brand new. And it's weather sealed, really fast autofocus, nice and compact, and you can shoot extremely close. This lens, I kind of expected it to not be able to focus as close as the 16 f1.4, and there might be a slight difference, I'm not sure, but you can focus ridiculously close with this thing. I'm talking just a few inches away. So pretty exciting thing. I've had fun using this just kind of around the house with the family and everything. Unfortunately, it's, you know, been nasty snow and rain the last few days. And although this is a weather sealed lens, I have not been out there in the rain with it, because just to be safe, this is a loaner. I've kept it pretty safe, but nonetheless, it's been a lot of fun. So I'm going to go ahead and go over some specs and share some more information about it, and show you guys some photos as well. So as I mentioned, it's the same sensor as the X-T3. It's a 26.1 megapixel backside illuminated APS-C X-Trans CMOS 4 and X4 processor, 4 quad-core CPU. Isn't that just a beautiful term? So this thing, it has a great sensor in it. That's all you need to know. I've used the X-T3 a ton over the last, I don't know, 6 months now, maybe 5 or 6 months, and it's been amazing. So it has the same sensor. It's really, really capable. Autofocus and face detection performance is really great, especially with moving subjects, both for photo and video. So that's been helpful for me. And the last 2 videos that I used, where I was showing the whole scanning process with the X-T3, you know, for scanning my film, both of those were shot with the X-T30. So if you've seen those videos, you've already seen what the video quality looks like. But again, you've seen it, you know, with my X-T3 videos, and same sensor. So yeah, it's a great sensor. That's all you need to know. 4K, 30 frames a second on this thing, and full HD, 1080p, 120 frames a second. So you're getting a lot of capability in terms of frame rate and, you know, 4K 30p. The X-T3 does 4K 60p, but again, if they're making a less, you know, less expensive stripped down version in the X-T30, you're obviously going to see some differences there and some, you know, less features. But still, 4K 30 is extremely nice. 1080p at 120 frames per second for video shooters, that's great as well. And this body is going to retail for $899. So under $1,000, you're getting a lot of performance out of this really small thing. And yeah, it's really, really compact. I mean, I don't have big hands at all, and you can see, I mean, this thing is just crazy, crazy compact. Now, for me personally, I prefer the size of the X-T3 because it's still small, but I get a much better grip. This is pretty cramped for like an all-day thing. You know, like if I were shooting weddings, I would not want to shoot an entire wedding on this because I feel like my hand would be pretty cramped up. I know you can buy a grip, but if you're going to buy a grip, you would maybe just want to buy the X-T3, something a little bit bigger. But I'm not sure. That's up to you. This one does have some different features, but for me, I think I would prefer the grip on the X-T3, especially for a full day of shooting. But for those of you with smaller hands, maybe this would be perfect for you. Of course, you do have the LCD that articulates somewhat. Most, Fuji cameras are about the same. It can flip down or up. Nothing that you can like flip out to the side for vloggers or anything like that. But still, you've got a little bit of movement there. You do have touchscreen functions, which I've already told you guys all how I feel about touchscreen functions. Turned those off as soon as I got it. But yeah, touchscreen, I know a lot of people love it. It's there. Built-in Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, so if you want to connect to your phone, it's super easy to use, really reliable as well. I've never had issues with that on any of my Fuji X cameras over the years. As far as your inputs go, you don't have the standard mic input. It's the little tiny one. I don't know the exact name of it, but you would need an adapter to plug in like a Rode mic or something like that. So that's the only mic input you have. You also have USB-C for charging, which is pretty nice. And then you also have the micro HDMI port. So for instance, I could plug my small HD monitor into this as I was shooting a video the other day. That way I could make sure everything was good, focus was good, it was still recording, that sort of thing. So you do have HDMI input on there, which is nice. Unfortunately, you don't have a headphone jack. I'm not sure if there's going to be some sort of, grip attachment or anything like that, like they did with the X-T2, that would allow you to have a headphone input, but on the camera itself, no headphone input. On the top of the camera, of course, you have your standard shutter speed dial like you always do with these Fuji X cameras. Exposure compensation over here on the side. You also have a little switch that you can just easily flip on to turn on auto function. So this is something that's a little bit more affordable, a little more compact, and stripped down, and I think it's mostly geared towards those who might want to take advantage of auto capabilities. So maybe if they don't want to mess too much with shutter speed, aperture, anything like that, flip it onto auto. You can easily flip it to auto and hand it off to somebody who maybe they're not as experienced and you just want to be in the photo for once. Maybe you're traveling with your family. Flip it onto auto, hand it to somebody standing by. They can take a quick photo, which is a pretty nice feature. I think that would be probably the only time I would ever use that, is if I needed to hand it to somebody to just take a quick snapshot of me and the family. But still, not a bad feature to have. It stays out of the way. I kind of forget that it's there whenever I'm shooting with this thing. Over here on the left side, you don't have your ISO dial like you normally would. You have basically your drive dial. So you have video shooting, bracketing options, continuous shooting, single, advanced, multiple exposure, panorama. So your shutter speed, or I'm sorry, your ISO dial is not going to be here. It's going to be accessed, basically a number of different ways. You can just access it through the quick menu. You can program it with one of the function buttons. I believe right now mine is set up on the front dial here. So if I need to adjust my ISO, I just adjust it on the front dial, and it hasn't been too bad. I do like having the dedicated ISO dial on the left side, but still not that big of a deal. There is no D-pad on the back because this thing does not have much room for one anyway, but just like I mentioned in the GFX50R video, just using the little joystick instead of a D-pad, it works just fine for me, so I haven't really missed having a D-pad. I should mention that you do have only a single card slot, and it's located in the bottom of the camera. So single card slot for me, not that big of a deal if I'm using this just for maybe filming videos or just taking it out and shooting for the day for myself. If I'm shooting weddings, I would prefer to have dual card slots like I do on my X-T3, but again, you're stripping this thing down, you're spending less, so you are going to have less features. The nice thing about this battery is that it uses the same battery as my X-T3. This is the what are they called? The W126S. So good batteries. I don't have any issues with them. I have 3 of them myself. It's nice that most of these cameras are starting to all have the same batteries, so you can swap them out in between different bodies. The one thing I don't like about this, though, is your SD card slot is located in the battery compartment. I understand for, space with this camera being so small, they probably didn't have any other option, but it's located directly next to the tripod mount. So for me, whenever I was recording the last couple of videos with this camera, it was on the tripod, and if I had to import the footage, take the camera off, unscrew the base plate, take it off so I could actually access this. I'm spoiled by the X-T30 where it's on the door, so no matter what, if I need to swap cards and it's on a tripod or it's in a rig that I've set up for shooting video, I can easily just pull the SD card out. So just something to keep in mind. But let's talk about the lens. This thing, like I mentioned, $399 brand new. Really nice price for something like this. It's super compact. Comes with this little lens hood here. It's sort of one of those leaf design lens hoods, or what do they call it? Leaf design? I don't think that's it. Petal? Is that like a flower petal? Is that what they call them? I don't know. It comes with a lens hood, just a simple little bayonet mount one. But the lens itself, it has, let me double check here, 10 lens elements in 8 groups. Compact, lightweight, and stylish design, weighing in at 5.47 ounces and measuring just 1.79 inches in length. I should have gotten a job on The Price is Right or something. But no, this thing is really nice. I've actually enjoyed shooting with it a lot. I think this is probably a lens I am going to pick up because I was looking to buy the 16mm f1.4, but I know that this thing is 2 stops slower, but I really don't mind paying that much less and getting a little bit slower lens, and the autofocus is crazy fast, and I think this actually might be a good lens to do where I'm just kind of run and gun filming myself for some of these videos, where I could throw this on the X-T3, not have to worry too much about framing, and it's not going to be right in my face as I'm shooting. So I actually think I am going to pick one of these up soon because I've really enjoyed shooting with it, and I think it could be helpful for that and shooting photos of the family, just because having that much room, a 24mm equivalent, and shooting stuff with the family, it's a really good storyteller. I have the 50 f2, 23 f2. I like that line of lenses. I don't mind having a little bit slower aperture in exchange for weather resistance and having something that has fast, silent autofocus and just really compact lenses. I like having that. So it is weather resistant and dust resistant, and I think it says capable of operating in temperatures as low as 14 degrees Fahrenheit. So we've definitely had some of that weather here lately, so it's good to know it can hold up in the extreme cold, way below freezing. But yeah, there's not a whole lot else to talk about, I guess. There is a built-in flash, which isn't on the X-T3, but built-in flash, that'll come in handy for those auto shooters. You have your little diopter, adjustment here on the back. The viewfinder is a little bit small, but obviously it's a much smaller camera, so that's kind of to be expected. But yeah, there's not a whole lot else to say about it. The body itself, at first I thought about maybe this being something that Molly would like, but after she shot with it, she says that she does prefer the bigger body on the X-T3 just because it has a little bit better grip. But I do think it's interesting to have something like this possibly as like a secondary camera or a backup camera, because if you don't have the funds to purchase 2 X-T3s, having this as your backup, it's still extremely capable. And if you're only going to use it when you need it as a backup, I think that's a great option. $899, I mean, that's a really good deal for what you're getting, I think, in terms of, on paper, all the specs, especially for video shooters. That, to me, I think is the most interesting thing, possibly having a smaller, less expensive option just to have as like a B camera. So maybe I'm filming something like this, but I need a second camera to get an overhead shot or an angle from the side, anything like that. This could be really helpful. So we'll see. If Molly does end up getting an X-T3, then I'll just use her camera as my B camera, but we'll see. Regardless, it's interesting. I like this finish. This might be their graphite finish. I'm not sure, but I really like the finish of this one. But the 16mm f2.8, this lens I do think I am going to get. So I'm not sure when, but eventually I would like to add this one to my bag because I've had a lot of fun shooting with it. And yeah, I think it's one worth picking up. So I hope you guys found this interesting. Breaking down new digital cameras and specs. This isn't what I normally do, but again, I want to help out Midwest Photo, and they want to help me out, and we want to work together and bring more videos and expand things just a little bit. And considering I am a Fuji shooter, I figured it's still in line with some of the other videos I've made, like reviewing the X-T30. So let me know if you guys have any questions or comments about this. And big thanks to Midwest Photo. If you're interested, Midwest Photo has everything you can think of in terms of photo, video, printing, lighting. I mean, they have everything there. They have classes that they have there as well. They actually have their own darkroom that you can rent out, which is amazing. Big rental department as well. Midwest has everything. So if you're interested, I'm going to put a link below. You can check that out. You can purchase stuff online, but if you're in the area, I highly suggest you stop in because they're great people and a really nice shop. So thank you guys for everything. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.